Good morning, everyone. This is Pete Carmasino with Chaikin Analytics. In today's stock spotlight, we'll be talking about Dick's Sporting Goods. So let's take a look at the chart where it was set up prior to today's earnings. We had here coming out this morning. You see that little sun there. That means it's going to be before the market, or at least in the morning, typically on our system. So estimates were for $1.25. They blew that away. The stock is up about $4 or $5 pre-market. Again, we were neutral on it. Let's look why. We have this model is a 20-factor model. These are the four main categories. Each category has 5 subsectors, and financials weigh heavily on the rating, right? So, and when I say financials, I really mean fundamentals. There's earnings. Obviously, experts are part of that whole fundamental look. But look at the financial setup here. It was in what we would call a bearish stance. So long-term debt to equity, cash flow are in the bearish zone, where everything else is kind of in the neutral area. So, that equates to a bearish financial setup for us. Earnings, on the other hand, were obviously in the very bearish setup, and you can see this sort of, earnings consistency maybe getting a little bit better. Projected PE, earnings trend were slightly off because of that last miss. You saw they missed by 88 cents there in June, and earnings growth we're basically trying to buck that trend. But I think we might see some changes in that. I can't predict what our model's going to do overnight, but as things get updated, that's what's great about our rating in the model, is because it constantly stays dynamic along with the stock. So part of our offering here is that we have a great relative strength reading here. Now, this is not an RSI that you see on typical charting packages. This is our own proprietary way of looking at relative strength versus the market, versus the SPY, the S&P 500 proxy, the ETF that you can trade. So you can see where it started to strengthen right as earnings were being reported, and had a bit of a sell-off here in the beginning of June, and really never got oversold until July. Made a nice run and then was oversold again prior to earnings. Now, we don't advocate trying to predict and trade before earnings. It's a very hard thing to do. A lot of people have tried that and fail. Dick's delivered. Obviously, their online sales were up over 194%. That's just a thematic trend we've been seeing, and Dick's is benefiting from it as well. And you can look at the other settings here as far as experts, analysts rating estimate trends, and their rating trend were very bullish in our model. What wasn't on the expert side was that there's a heavy short interest against the stock. So this could become a catalyst. Again, unknown at this particular point, but the point being is the stock is up pre-market. Don't know exactly where it's going to open, but it looks like it might be above that volatility band, and could be putting in a high for the last 52 weeks. So it's remains to be seen where the market brings this name. But from a technical point, fundamentals and technicals, we try to marry the two together. So our fundamentals were neutral, which was rightfully so based on the factors that we just looked at. And then you could see where it was oversold and starting to move higher. And this one was, an interesting setup with a very strong relative strength. It's a name that you might have been able to take advantage of, and a better trade might have been earlier before earnings in July, $38, maybe $40. You can hold through earnings if you're there, but let this one settle in a little bit, see if it gets oversold again. Potentially these numbers could have, a major impact going forward on expectations and estimates. So be mindful of it. It's a great name. It did a great job as far as earnings. They really navigated this pandemic very well. So you have to give it to management, which is always a strong indicator of, potential future, from a name like Dick's Sporting Goods. So you had to look at our charts and our factors and how we look at things. And, we teach people this process all the time. Why don't you take a trial, test drive Chaikin Analytics for 14 days for free. You get the full access as a full member. You also get the daily newsletters and 2 weekly ones from Mark Chaikin himself. So in that time frame for 14 days, we'd love to have you test drive, demo the product, learn how we can teach you how to use the system and find those setups like I showed you on Dick's Sporting Goods and some of the other names we talked about. But go to chaikinanalytics.com/stock spotlight, get your trial, give it a test drive.